Good morning, everyone. Today we're checking out a brand new video from Popcross Studios. It was the hunt for the Charathalos. I'm sorry if I butchered that, but this is Trismegistus Academy Pokevyrn Arc Part 2. Let's hop in and check it out.
This video is brought to you by the book release of Mytholethal, available now,
What?
and Benny Sharp will tell you more about it later in the video. Today it's time for another round
Benny
of
Sharp.
Pokemon
Nice.
Monster Hunter Fusions in Part 2 of the Trismegistus Academy Pokevyrn arc. I'm very glad that I've made the decision to just work in pop culture fusions and stuff like this to my ongoing competing superhero school storyline, the Trismegistus Academy, because it means we get more cool episodes like this in the series. Today's episode will be told from the perspective of one of the Ludum Academy for Fearsome Fighter students, Waru Umarek, who also narrated the Marvel Rivals episode in this
Waru Umarek, aka the one character that knows he's fictional.
series. And
oh my god, he's the Deadpool of the group.
I'm finally going to be giving a fusion that I teased since even before this series, back when I did my old Pokemon Monster Hunter fusion episodes like a year or two ago. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's go.
Hit like if you want. Subscribe if you feel like it. But either way, enjoy the show.
I guess I'm just going to have to get used to the fact that the
Okay, now this is one monster I'm definitely liking.
book I'm convinced my life is being turned into is going to be crammed full of copyright issues. When Headmistress Ludum showed us images of the creatures we were going to hunt for training purposes, it only took me about 7 seconds to peg that we were headed to some weird Monster Hunter Pokemon fusion world. I was annoyed at first, but then realized, what do I care? I'm not the one who will have to deal with getting sued. I might as well enjoy getting to jump into a world where I can use my powers to fight monsters that are a mashup of two game franchises I used to love. Not that I haven't done plenty of monster fighting as it is. Alsai and I had gone into Tale, or Katas's, Chimera Capital Pocket Dimension a few times at that point to fight beasties with her. I'd started to notice that lots of the monsters we trained against in there had some serious similarities to stuff from games and movies from my past life too.
That's right.
Katas was kind of growing on me. I mean, it helped that she's also not the age she seems. I was 25 when I died before getting reincarnated, and she may look like a high school...
That's called isekai.
...schooler too, but because she ages slowly, she's actually 36 and just looks young, thanks to her partial God-queller blood, as she calls it. Still, even though we were all working together on the whole taking down Ludum thing with the Tahe kids, Katas wasn't warming up to me the way I was to her. I didn't get why. She clearly cares about strength and power, and I'm the toughest kid at the LAFF. I hoped I'd get to show off my
there could be something more to it than just that.
Skills a bit more on our field trip. Maybe even hunt alongside her. Plus, I had every intention of winning the big prize. Ludum said we could harvest the hides of whatever creatures we killed to use their scales, teeth, and armor and stuff like that to make weapons, but also said that whoever killed the toughest monster, she'd pay for the best armor crafter in that realm to turn it into armor for us.
Okay, now
that sounded
that's
pretty
a good deal.
sweet, and I immediately knew what I wanted to go after. I didn't know how this universe happened, but if it was a blend of Pokemon and Monster Hunter, I knew without a doubt that there had to be a Charizard-Rathalos fusion running around somewhere. Those two are basically the mascots of their respective games. They're both orange, fire-breathing dragons with bad attitudes. There was no way that wasn't a species. I talked to that slimy little creep, Scout the Scout, who works for Ludum, going around and finding stuff in other dimensions for her, like new unfortunate students, and he confirmed that there was a beast called a Charathalos. So that became my sole target. He mentioned there were some creatures way tougher than it that were clearly a blend of Monster Hunter Elder Dragons and Pokemon Legendaries, but the way he described them, they'd fry me even at my toughest in a few seconds. It wasn't worth going after them when the Charathalos sounded cool enough as it was.
I mean, hell, back in the last one of these, we got to see a Zapdos dragon, and that thing was very, very pissed off.
Things did get kind of crook when we arrived, though. We started out hunting this Venusaur thing fused with a creature I didn't recognize. It might have been a monster that was part of a game that came out after I died or something, but regardless, I wasn't wasting my energy on it. Everyone else started fighting it, and Ludum did goad me into the scrap eventually, but not before another group teleported onto the scene. The freaking Tahe kids showed up, and Ludum had clearly been expecting them. When that bird-faced Trismegistus principal confronted her, Ludum hinted that she had a spy in Tahe, and I thought Alcaya
some
was
kind
going
of
to have
mole.
a heart attack and die right on the spot. I wasn't happy about it either. It figures that Ludum would have a spy in that goody-goody school, but now it's my freaking problem too because I decided to get in on the stupid take-down Ludum plan. That's what I get for trying to help. As messed up as this new life is, I like having epic superpowers, and don't
I just thought of a way you could actually get the mole to reveal themselves, even if it is kind of in secret. Just talk shit about Ludum.
want that psycho headmistress gutting me before I even finish going through puberty for the second time. Anyway, I took out the first monster we were all fighting by basically dropping a mountain on it. Then Ludum let us all split up into groups or go off as individuals to hunt. She made sure to add, "And remember, students, don't by any means pick any fights with the Tahe children. Unless you really want to, of course." I didn't know what exactly her angle was, but I knew she had to be hoping for some kind of chaos to ensue.
Obviously.
I strolled over to Charathalos as casually as I could and said, "So, you want to go after the Charathalos with me? It's going to be a pretty tough one. I might need a little help with it, and could let you have one of the gauntlets or something from the armor I get out of it, if you lend a hand."
Dude, I can't tell. If this is you trying to flirt, it's not that good. And take it from a guy like me, you can do better.
She barely even glanced at me. "Charathalos, that is cute, but Alcaya and I intend to track down a real challenge. You can join us if you must." You can see it wasn't just me. There was a serious vibe she was giving off of, "I don't like you." I tried to ignore it. The Charathalos is plenty tough, Katas, and you can't seriously be thinking about going after one of the— "Yes, we're going to hunt down an elder legend, Pokevyrn. My grandmother has told me of this realm, and she slayed one when she was here, so I must prove that I can as well."
Ooh, I wonder what it was that Mythal killed. No, wait, hold on. Did she say aunt? No, she said grandmother.
Rolled my eyes. Yeah, but isn't your grandma also an immortal? Be realistic here, we're not killing an elder legend. She smirked and pressed a finger against my chest. "You're not going to because you're the kind of person who says things like, 'Be realistic,' in a way that means to try and enforce limitations on others that you are simply too scared to test yourself. I will succeed in this venture, or, in the very least, get stronger by attempting to do so. So go off and find your orange, toothy pigeon if you must, and let us be on our way."
Damn, this girl has
I turned
guts.
to Alcaya, who definitely had more of a nervous vibe about the
Definitely has her grandfather Otis in her.
whole thing. "Alcaya, you're not really stupid enough to get yourself killed trying to impress the bloodthirsty smoke puff here, are you?" She clearly wasn't a fan of my tone. "I'm not being stupid, Waru. With Katas running lead and me helping, I think we can do it. It'll be a long fight, but still, if we can get armor made from a creature as tough as an elder legend, that could probably help us out a lot in, a certain event in the future." I shook my head and stomped off. "Fine! Go become monster food. It means I'll get bumped back up to rank 1 student anyway." Katas sarcastically muttered, "As warm-hearted as ever, Waru." Alcaya tried to stop me from walking away, but not very hard. I marched off and figured if they wanted to get themselves killed, fine. Just meant 2 less people I had to worry about, and I could go back to being a solo act. I didn't even really know if I headed off in the right direction to find a Charathalos. I should have asked that creep Scout the Scout since he'd come on the trip too. I was just too
My best guess would be some kind of volcanic mountain.
annoyed at Katas, both for her being so cold to me and because now she might get Alcaya killed. But after having that thought, it just annoyed me even more that I even cared. Anyway, I ended up finding myself in this foggy, rocky area where the forest broke up a bit. I realized I'd just stomped off in a random direction and was about to turn back when, out of nowhere, without a sound, this massive clawed tail snatched me around the waist and ripped me into the air. I felt like my ribs were about to be crushed, but quickly summoned my ability orbs and called the red one into my chest for strength and durability. I was about to try separating its grip, but before I could, the creature smashed me right down into the dirt, head first, and let me go. If I'd taken a second longer to call in my orb, I probably would have been dead.
Let's see, this thing is a combination of a Gliscor and a Celtos. So my guess would be a Glistos.
I knew I wasn't lucky enough that a Charathalos had found me, but I had enough irritated energy that I was down to face whatever this thing was as a warm-up. With a claw like that, I was thinking I was going up against some kind of pincer fusion, but not quite. The thing was sort of bug-like, but was clearly the Pokemon Gliscor fused with... It kind of looked like it could be a Celtos or Celtos Queen or something, but I don't remember. Those things
Oh,
only
okay.
showed...
So these are two different things. I thought it was like a lifespan thing. So one of these is the regular one, and one of these is the queen. If I had to guess, this big ass one is the queen. This smalling one that unfortunately I'm covering at the moment would just be like the regular.
Up in
Okay.
one of the early Monster Hunter games, I think. It flew in the air a little ways ahead, so I decided to try out a move I'd used a few times in the Chimera capital. I swapped in my flight ability and shot towards it. When I'd gotten enough momentum, I switched back to my strength. But before I could reach the thing to hammer it in the chest, this massive stream of green mist shot in front of me from the side. I couldn't stop myself from breathing it in as I flew through it, and I instantly got dizzy. My vision went fuzzy and I missed my swing.
Ugh,
I felt
poisonous.
my body crash into the bug, but I barely shoved it back. I probably hurt myself more than it as I flopped through the air to the ground. Or almost to the ground, anyway. My body stopped a few inches off the ground as another swirl of pollen-like mist, this time blue, appeared in a slow spinning twister below me. Before I knew what was happening, I heard a voice say, "This is the first remotely bug-like monster I've found here, so if you need to kill something, go kill something else."
Oh, okay. So someone wants the bug. Okay. Oh, look at that shiny! Damn! Okay, hold on. I gotta check something. Had the jacket for a moment to see if the shiny was the right color. It is indeed 100% the right color. Well, had to try. I had to.
When I stood
Had to check it more so just for myself, really.
up out of the
Hey, and here it is, the Charathalos.
swirling pollen, I got a look at the girl who'd apparently attacked me. I sort of recognized her from the few calls we'd had with the Tahe kids on the watch thing Alsaya's got. Her name was, like, Seki or Insecto or something. Made sense that she was obsessed with bugs. She already wore armor like what I'd expect to find here, but clearly made out of some kind of insect creature.
Clearly.
Slithering up behind her was an older kid with a mechanical snake tail in place of her legs. She said, "Niseko, I know you want cell score for yourself, but remember, we're not supposed to pick fights with the LAFF kids." Niseko shrugged. "I didn't technically attack him, Gatly. I shot sleep spores into the air and he flew into them. If he hadn't been attacking the cell score, he would have been fine."
The cell score. Damn it, I did the wrong name of flip.
The girl, apparently called Gatly, trying to hide an obvious chuckle, slithered closer to me. "Are you okay there, pal?"
Okay, I don't know when, but apparently I didn't unpause at some point, so there was gonna be a weird cut, but the video should be continuing on like normal from this point on.
Closer to me. "Are you okay there, pal?" "I will be if you back off and let me pummel this thing for attacking me," I growled, turning to see the monster swooping towards me again. This time it was aiming its crab-like claws at the ends of its arms towards me. I was ready to catch them and rip them open for a lobster fry, but before
Would it be
reached
edible?
me, another spurt of spores flew into its path. These ones were yellow, and the second the creature breathed them in, it started to shriek and flail like it had been shocked. It crashed to the
stun
ground
spore.
before me, twitching. It started getting up quickly,
A
but
good move against non-electric types.
then a consistent stream of green spores started shooting into its face. I turned to see the bug armor-clad girl's palms were glowing, and the mist was shooting out of them. She turned to me. "Get too close to it and you'll pass out too, Waru."
And that would be sleep spore.
I half expected the snake-tailed girl to be weirded out that Niseko remembered my name. As far as I knew, none of the Tahe upper year kids knew about our plan to take down Ludum. Instead, Gottlieb slithered around to my other side, as if trying to get me a little farther away from Niseko. She was still trying to knock this
I would
monster
leave.
unconscious as Gottlieb got weirdly close to me and said quietly, "We've got no beef with you Tahe kids, but can you let Niseko have this one? She's a big fan of bugs and had a rough week. She's one of the only students to not finish this resilience combat course
Oof.
early and could really use a win today."
Yeah,
I wish
can
Gottlieb
understand
had
that.
been more
Respect.
snarky or sarcastic or something. She was being completely genuine, which wasn't something I saw much of back at the LAFF. I wanted any reason to just kick Niseko away, then go smash this monster to pieces. What did I care what she wanted anyway? I shouldn't care what any of those stupid Tahe kids thought, or what Katas thought, or anyone. I shoved past Gatly as I swapped in my flight powers. Whatever,
So,
have fun with
peace
your
out,
stupid pet
fly.
scorpion, I'm out of here. I flew up into the air, even more annoyed than I had been before. I had decided that I wasn't going to get invested in anybody else's feelings in this life. This wasn't even my first life. Why should I care about anyone?
Here's one thing about that, man. You may try to be a loner as hard as you want, but you're always going to end up having friends that you care for. Well, no matter what, you're never going to be a true loner.
Let alone the feelings of
And that's a
some
good
random
thing.
bug-loving weirdo. I tried to convince myself to turn back and kill that stupid monster anyway, but couldn't bring myself to do it. Instead, I channeled all my anger into the hunt I'd said I would go on. I got higher into the air and spotted a red mountainous region where I could make out the faint glow of magma. If a Charathalos was going to be anywhere, I bet it was there. I shot towards that region at full speed.
Of course, a fire type that's a dragon? Who wouldn't go to a volcanic mountain? Come on.
I
Kind of
even
obvious.
spotted some Tahe kids headed in that direction closer to the ground. One of them even looked like he was riding a dinosaur or something.
That's
I
Darwin.
ignored them and kept
believe.
flying full tilt. I spotted a few creatures in the air and got close, but none of them were the king of the skies I was looking for.
Oh wait, I just realized. Look, the Rathalos doesn't actually have front arms. It's technically a wyvern, but by fusing it with the Charizard, it then gets front arms.
pretty
Ooh,
impatient and
okay.
ended up getting annoyed enough while searching that I punched some Pidgeot-looking thing in the face out of irritation. Apparently, that was a bad idea. It swooped back and flapped its wings at me, making a massive gust of wind smack right into me. I spun out enough that I wasn't sure I'd regain my flight, so I switched to my strength and durability power. I smashed right down between some trees and the entrance to some caves into the mountainous magma region. I grumbled angrily, picking myself up, but before I was even fully on my feet, something hard smashed into my back and sent me rolling into a tree trunk.
Ah, damn it.
Oh, what now?
Hey Tarzan, look out for that tree!
I yelled. I leapt up and saw this infernape-looking stone monkey thing shrieking at me like it was ready for a fight. You're not a freaking Charathalos, so back off. I grabbed the tree I'd just hit and tore it out of the ground. I whipped it around and smacked the ape with it. It crashed back into the cave wall and shrieked again. I smacked it over and over and over until finally it charged back down into the caves away from me. I almost considered going back after it, but figured it wasn't my problem anymore.
Leave the monkey alone.
I dropped the tree and just slumped to the ground. I don't know why, but in that moment, a memory flashed back into my head. It was my dad. Not my original dad, but the one in this life. It was him sitting on his throne in the dark one night. He was quietly crying. My mom had disappeared about a week earlier. We never saw her again. Of course, the king is toast now too, along with pretty much that whole world. Before my world in this new life got wiped out by demons, I'd been the child of a king of a territory called the Taramari and of a local superhero-turned-queen. They were cool enough people, but I tried to not get too attached to my new parents. I figured even if they'd given birth to me in this life, they weren't my first parents I remembered, so
Oh, come on,
did
man.
they really count as my real parents?
By all accounts, technically, yes. While they may not be your first parents, they are still your parents. At least of your current body. Yeah, your brain remembers your first parents and your original home before you got isekai'd. But these were your new parents, your new family. So by all accounts, yes, they are your parents.
That night I saw the king crying, I didn't do anything. Just went back to bed and pretended I didn't see him. It wasn't my problem, right? So why was that thought even coming back to me? Why now? I picked myself up and started thinking about Katas and Alsaya. It sort of clicked in that I'd gotten laid out by 3 pretty basic monsters already today, and I was the toughest guy at the LAFF. If Katas and Alsaya actually found an Elder Legend, they really would be torn to shreds. Again, that image of the king crying shot through my head. Katas, why do you have to be so stubborn and stupid? I yelled, but getting mad at her wasn't going to change the fact that whether I liked it or not, I was worried about her and Alsaya. If I couldn't force those feelings away like I wanted, I figured I may as well do something about them.
You gotta play into them.
Fine, I growled to myself. I'll help you kill, or more likely run away from, the stupid Elder Dragon.
I wonder what it's gonna be.
I was about to swap in my flight abilities
Oh, right, the Zapdos.
again when a hot wave of air swelled up around my body. I turned around and saw Flapping its orange and teal wings in the sky just above me was a Charathalos. Well, how about that? I'd just given up on finding you.
Alright, now show us that black shiny. Yeah, there it is! Awesome.
Hey folks, non-canonical Benny Shop here to say, why don't you go ahead and pick up this book right here called Mythal Lethal. It includes my buddy Aries in here, and there's a fun picture of him eating a sandwich. I mean, it's not one of Champagne sandwiches, so it's probably not the best he's ever had, but it's a pretty fun looking picture all the same. And there's plenty of other bonus art in this book that ain't nobody seen nowhere else before, including, oh my, look at this beautiful double splash page. I mean, I'd show you, but you're just gonna have to get the book to see it. It's absolutely beautiful looking, even though Tassa's face is looking a little funny being split down the middle all funky, but I'd say that's an appropriate amount of disrespect towards her. But again, that bonus art is only available in the paper book and the ebook version, but you know, get the paperback. Why wouldn't you want the physical copy, you know? Digital stuff ain't nothing. And Popcross has officially confirmed that if the book sells 1,111 copies in its first month, he's officially gonna greenlight the sequel. Since I'm non-canonical Benny Shop anyway, he was telling me all about his ideas, and they sound pretty funky and awesome. So like my Maz never said, if you want that sequel, you gotta buy Mythal Lethal. That one, yeah, it's not one of the better rhymes. But like I said, she didn't actually say that. Pick it up on Amazon now. And I apologize to Australians and people in Japan, because apparently Amazon doesn't do colored printing in your country for some reason. Popcross is gonna see if there's another way to get it to you folks. Anyway, back into more Trismegistus Pokemon stuff.
Before I even thought to attack...
Whoa, hold on. I did this drawing twice. The first one is not canon, but I'll show it anyway. This is a Rayquaza... something, damn it. I feel like I should know this creature from Josh Scorcho, but I can't. Oh, wait, here it is. It's a Dalai Madre.
My body was completely enveloped in flames. It wasn't a pleasant sensation, but with my strength and durability power active, it wasn't enough to kill me.
Actually, quick question before we continue on with this. Do y'all say Rayquaza or Rayquaza? I say Rayquaza because that's just what I've been saying all my life. But I've heard people say Rayquaza. So I want to know out there to you guys. Do you say Rayquaza or Rayquaza? Now, let's continue on.
My clothes were pretty fire resistant too, so I wasn't about to be forced into fighting this thing in my birthday suit. I used the fact that it likely assumed I was getting cooked to my advantage. I charged under it and leapt straight up, punching it right in the neck. Its flames stopped and sputtered as it choked on the strike. I snatched one of its spikes and got onto its back. I climbed just behind its head and yanked upwards. It turned up towards the sky and flew straight up. I'd meant to try and tear its head off, but making its flight change direction felt pretty cool too. It spun upwards through the air and turned its head, trying to snap at me, but where I sat on its neck, there was no getting to me. I wrenched its head to the side and it turned with my movement. I yanked the other way and it turned again. This was awesome. It was like riding a flying bike that wanted to eat me. I shoved its head forward and sent it into a dive bomb. We got close to the ground and it tried to pull up, but I leapt off its neck, grabbed its jaw, and yanked down again. I thudded pretty gracefully to the ground, but the Charathalos crashed head first. It flopped across the dirt and groaned furiously. I readied it up for it to come at me. It rolled onto its feet and its eyes found me again. Its head was low and fire sputtered out its sides. Let's make this quick. I've got to go check on my friends. I could hardly believe that I said that. Plus, I'd played enough Monster Hunter to know that there wasn't much chance of a quick fight. Or, at least I thought. I then noticed that the end of its tail was flaming like a Charizard. Maybe its weakness was the same too. It finally lunged forward, flaming jaws first. I ran right...
To kind of explain that for a lot of y'all out there, for the Charizard line, and its tail is its primary source of life. If that flame goes out, then it, well, literally dies of a heart attack. It just goes, and just drops dead.
I at it and used all my strength in my legs to leap right over it. I landed on its other side, skidding through the dirt as forcefully as I could. I scooped up all the dirt and dust I'd just torn up from the ground and hurled it onto the Charathalos' tail. The flame dimmed significantly, and the creature shrieked in pain. It whipped around and thrust its head at me again. This time, I caught the top of its jaw and slid back across the ground as it shoved forward, trying to snap me up in its mouth. I dug...
Now here's the cannon one.
My heels into the ground and stopped it in place. It opened its maw wide and breathed a beam of fire into my stomach. It felt even hotter this time. I raised its head up and slammed it down into the dirt, forcing its jaws shut. It tried to pull its head away, but I yanked it back, holding it in place. I slammed its head down again. I did it again and again, and it was clearly getting dazed. I thought about shoving my fist right through its eye to finish it off, but then saw something in its gaze I hadn't expected to.
Oh?
It almost looked like fear. One more time, the image of the crying king came to me. Oh, are you kidding me? I'm
Begging
even
for
feeling bad for a
mercy?
stupid dragon now? It just kept staring at me. I imagined if I let it go, it'd just attack me again, but maybe I could outfly it anyway? I hurled its head up, then took a few steps back. It leered down at me and roared. I flung my arms forward, just trying to shoo it away. Go! Get out of here, okay? Today's your lucky day. You can't.
Wait, I remember the lore of this world. Every now and then when a child becomes of age, they're sent out into the wild to try and tame one of the powerful creatures. So, and if the Charathalos was feeling fear to him, then there's a high likelihood that I think our boy here just tamed that Charathalos into his partner.
Got me feeling like a wuss. I got ready to switch to my flight and scram, but it didn't attack. It lowered its head and stared at me once again, but this time more like it was intrigued. I backed away a bit more. It just watched.
Awesome.
If I swapped into my flight and it attacked, I could be in trouble, but it didn't seem like it was going to attack again. I backed a little farther back than made the swap. It tilted its head curiously, but still didn't attack. I hovered up off the ground and it raised its head, then spread its wings. Was it going to chase me? I shot up, then stopped a few dozen feet up. It soared up after me, then just flapped its wings in the air ahead of me. It
I
almost
was
looked
right.
like it was mimicking me or something. I got a weird
He
idea
tamed
and
it.
decided to go with it. I stopped flying and just let myself fall, curious to see what it'd do. It shot down towards the ground, but swooped right under me, making me land on its spiky back. It was an uncomfortable landing, but it kept flying with me riding it. I could have flown back off it, but instead I gripped onto its spikes again. I pulled it gently to one side, and to my surprise, it turned where I aimed, this time much more willingly than when we'd been fighting. So, what, are we
Oh, hell yes.
like buds now or something? It growled, and I couldn't say for sure, but it almost seemed like it was an affirmation that what I'd said was true. Maybe, like in Pokemon, beating a creature in a fight in this world can actually make it your pal. I sighed. Alright,
Yes,
well,
actually.
I guess I might be able to use your help with something then. I turned the Charathalos back towards the place where we'd all first come into this world. This thing was crazy fast, and it only took us about 10 minutes to get there. Scout the Scout was there, laid back in a lounge chair with his eyes closed. He opened them when the Charathalos' shadow swept over him, and I got a good laugh as he fell out of his seat seeing it coming. I swooped down and landed with my new mount near him.
Awesome.
Scout, Charathalos and Alcaya were going to try and find an elder legend. Any idea which way they would have gone? He jumped up and put his hands to his side. You can't just go around scaring folks like that, you little... I mean, good on you for taming a Charathalos. I hope you don't think Ludum's gonna let you bring that thing home with you, though, kiddo. Yeah, whatever. Charathalos, Alcaya, Elder Dragon. Any ideas? He
Which
gritted his
direction?
teeth, but tried to pretend he was being chill. Yeah, they asked me, and I told them the Dalaquaza had been seen a little ways
Dalaquaza. Okay, so that's what this thing is called.
past the windmill farms off of that away. Told them it wasn't smart to go looking for it, but they went on after it anyhow. Great, thanks. I gave a gentle tug on the Charathalos' head and it spread its wings to take off. Now hold on there, I wouldn't go flying an apex Pokevyrn into a territory it don't belong in. You could draw a lot of unwanted attention to yourself from some rat-tough beasties, and an elder legend especially won't take too kindly to that thing showing up in its home.
That is
Get
true.
warned. I shrugged. Katas is set on getting that elder legend riled up anyway. Might as well bring as much backup as I can.
And that's
He
also
took off
true.
and headed right in the direction of where Scout sent Katas and Alcaya. Dalaquaza sounded like a pretty obvious fusion to me. It had to be Rayquaza from Pokemon and Dalamater from Monster Hunter.
Oh, Dalamata. Okay.
That meant this thing wasn't just going to be tough, it was probably huge as well. My guess was it'd be able to fly like Rayquaza, probably be able to dig into the ground, and maybe even summon meteors from the sky. We got
Ooh,
into the
Draco
territory with the
Meteor.
windmill farm, and it started getting really cloudy again. Scout had said to go past the windmills, and I could see some mountains in the distance. That was probably where he meant. Unfortunately, there was another beast between me and there, one that clearly wasn't happy about me bringing another apex into the neighborhood. A sparking golden Zapdos-looking thing that I now know was called a Zapdow shot like a rocket out of the clouds above right for us. I didn't even have to direct the Charathalos, it just knew to get out of the way. The lightning bird spun back around and swooped over us, trying to snatch its claws onto me and the Charathalos' back. Thankfully, I'd switched to my strength at this point. I grabbed the Zapdow's claw, pulled sideways on the Charathalos' neck so it'd do a spiral, and I whipped the Zapdow right towards the ground. I then aimed the Charathalos up into the clouds to try and get away. If I were certain Katas and Alcaya hadn't found the Dalaquaza, I probably would have stuck around for this fight, but I figured getting them was a priority. We seemed to lose the Zapdow in the clouds, but it was hard for us to see anything too. We kept flying.
Oh, hold on. This is actually kind of interesting. He's inking the background parts of the Dalaquaza. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. I know he just said it. But he's outlining the part that's in front of it. Now, that's actually a really clever technique.
Flying in the general right direction for a moment, then dip back down below the clouds. We'd gotten even closer to the mountains than I would have expected. It was a pretty wide expanse of mountains, and I started to realize finding Katas and Alcaya could be impossible. That is, if they hadn't already ticked off the biggest monster hiding in this region. There was a loud crashing sound that immediately drew my eye over to a mountaintop that was being blown apart. Rocks and debris shot across the sky as a colossal serpent soared right through it, shrieking as it leered down at the mountainside below.
Oh,
I flew closer on the Charathalos and saw a figure sprinting at superhuman speeds through the mountain pass, with the dragon close on her trail. That had to be Alcaya, but where was Katas? My heart sank thinking about that monster having already eaten her. I should have known better. I got closer still and heard the dragon shriek in fury and throw back its head. I looked across its long, winding body to see a figure running along its back, carving her star blade between its scales. She was actually managing to make blood spurt out of it. Maybe we really could kill this thing. It snapped its jaws at her, but she leapt up out of its path. Unfortunately, it then swung its head and smacked her, sending her spiraling through the air across the mountains. I shoved forward and the Charathalos sped up. Katas, over here! I wrenched my foot between some of the Charathalos' scales and stood up on its back, waving my arms, trying to get her attention as she spun. She managed to balance herself out in the air as she fell. She saw me and was probably a bit confused, but hurled her weapon towards me. I did my best to aim the Charathalos so I was in the weapon's path. Then I snatched it out of the air and sat back down.
Now that's
Suddenly, in a burst of white smoke, Katas appeared in front of me. She had teleported to her weapon and was now astride the Charathalos along with me. "Hold on," I said, aiming the Charathalos down towards Alcaya. "Well, well, look who came to say I told you so," she muttered. "I didn't come for that. You look like you weren't actually doing too terribly against this thing. I came because I was worried about you two dorks." She turned back. "Really? You? Worrying for someone other than yourself?"
Now that's a surprise.
I was about to snap back at her, but the dragon paused its chase of Alcaya as it spotted us. It stared at the Charathalos like my dragon had killed its kids and danced on their graves. It shrieked, and surprise, surprise, out of the clouds above came a storm of meteors headed right for us. I was about to try directing us, but the Charathalos clearly knew what it was doing better than I did. It dodged and weaved around the burning rocks with astounding grace and ease. By the time the rocks had passed, we were nearly right above Alcaya, who was moving much slower than her top speed thanks to the difficult terrain. The Charathalos thrust down a claw, and, seeing us astride the dragon, Alcaya leapt onto it and held tight. We turned and flew as fast as my mount could go, but with 3 passengers, that was barely as fast as our pursuing elder dragon could move. We were headed back towards the meeting spot, but unfortunately that meant going straight back into the Zapdow's territory. Up ahead, we could see the sparking, furious apex Thunderbird, and directly behind us came the Elder Legend. It seemed like we were as stuck between a rock and a hard place as we could be. But I guess on the slight upside, some of the Tahe kids were there too, and hopefully ready to give us a hand.
The shiny. We got to see it for a second as he was making it. Reveal! There it is. Awesome.
If you enjoyed this, you might want to start the Trismegistus Academy series from the beginning if you haven't seen all the
Yeah,
episodes.
go ahead and go
or
check
you might
it
want
out.
to check out my playlist of my best Pokemon episodes, because I've worked with Pokemon a ton, and in some of those videos, I'd say I've got some of my best designs I've ever made on the channel. But
Definitely
besides that,
awesome.
that's all for today, except, of course, for ending this video on some kind of
Positive
positive or
or
inspiring
inspiring
note.
note.
And the thought I want to leave people with today is a quote I read this week from a man who goes by Humble the Poet, who said,
Humble
"People
the
treat
Poet.
you the way that you treat yourself. If you doubt your value, others will too." When you
Ooh,
build
that's a good one.
confidence within yourself and reflect that out into the world, people are both less likely to be disrespectful towards you, and once you've built that confidence within yourself, if people are disrespectful to you, it won't matter as much to you because you've built up a core of confidence.
That's
and
good.
you're happy with who you are. I hope that's inspiring. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday. Goodbye.
Alright everyone, that's going to be the end of today's video, and I hope you all enjoyed this. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Link to the original will be in the description below, and I'll see all of y'all next time when we flick back on. Until then, this is Fox, signing out. Peace.